Hi folks, welcome to Crisco's Corner. Unfiltered commentary, and not your truth, the real truth. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thank you for your support. Hi folks, welcome back. From nationalreview.com. The snooty party goes to war. It's a fairly long article, but I think it's important. The Democrats love the poor. The Democrats hate the poor. And the poor in West Virginia, they're at the bottom of the bucket as Democrats see things. True. Senator Joe Manchin, the moderate Democrat from West Virginia, was one of the last of that breed. I was a Democrat on my local city council here in upstate New York in the early 2000s, 2007. As a Democrat, I left the party years ago for a lot of the things they're going to be talking about in this article. Joe Manchin has derailed Joe Biden's beloved Build Back Better bill, a slop bucket of progressive wish fulfillment that would add trillions in new spending to our already bloated federal budget and pile on more debt upon our already considerable national debt. Joe Manchin thought it was a bad package. What they don't talk about is also it was major changes at the federal level to election law, which is unconstitutional. Amnesty for millions of individuals who aren't citizens. Senator Manchin thought it was a bad package, but he supported someone who was in it. In West Virginia, thought it was a bad package and supported someone who was in it. So Senator Manchin announced on Fox News in an extra FU to Chuck Schumer et al. They would oppose the bill because Democrats and Republicans both have rejected the notion of consensus building and bipartisanship. Every Senate Republican opposes the scheme, which means the Democrats needed every Democratic vote to pass the bill in the evenly split state. That's why that special election in Georgia for both Senate seats was so important in January. We wouldn't be going through this nonsense. Senator Manchin's willingness to break with his party makes him, for the moment, the most powerful man in Washington after the maitre d' at la diplomate. I love this guy's sarcasm. Somewhere in the Senate, there must be at least one Republican who is smart enough to realize that he could be the most powerful man in Washington after the maitre d', if he's willing to do the same. It also makes him the man Democrats hate most. At the moment, anyway, Democrats' hatred is urgent and plastic thing. But like the unhappy worker who cannot face off against his overbearing boss and so instead goes home to yell at his wife and kick the dog, progressives from Hollywood to Washington to whatever abandoned gopher hole Robert Reich calls home have decided to lay into the people of West Virginia. As Isaac Shore already has reported here, the noted political philosopher Bette Midler, I love this guy's sarcasm, and her friends at Occupy Democrats denounced West Virginians as illiterates. The Mountain State has a higher literacy rate than New York, California, or New Jersey, which is true. Ilhan Omar suggested that Senator Manchin's vote is a result of corruption, a serious charge for which she should be made to answer. Okay. Ilhan Omar, the same one that married her brother? Okay. And Reich offered this indictment. Let me remind you that a full quarter of West Virginians 65 and older have no natural teeth. Toothless hillbillies. Who doesn't love a classic? In fact, the share of West Virginians over 65 without any remaining teeth is not far off from the national average. But facts don't matter much when you're worked up for a good head of hate steam. I know as well as anybody that poor, rural, white America has its problems. But I do not believe for one hot second that Ilhan Omar or Robert Reich knows one damn thing about them or cares to learn. Why would they? Senator Manchin is about as far to the political left as today's West Virginia is going to go. Osage County, Kentucky, home of the poorest white people in America, is overwhelmingly Republican. And Donald Trump got 8 times as many votes as Joe Biden did in 2020. Trump did slightly better in San Francisco than Biden did in Osage County. There's a little factoid to meditate upon. The most important domestic political development of the 21st century so far is the class reversal of the Republican and Democrat parties. Yeah, what an astounding switch. a trend that began in the 1990s with Bill Clinton and now has reached a state of genuine polarization. Democrats, once the party of poor farmers and working class white ethnics, as we used to call them, had become the party of affluent, educated, metropolitan, suburban professionals. The people who were once critical to the Republican coalition. One notable barometer, the 5 counties of southeastern Pennsylvania for years amplified a national pattern. Philadelphia was overwhelmingly Democrat, and the 4 suburban counties were overwhelmingly Republican. Yeah, it's I'm not going to read every word of this. It's a long article. As far as today's Democrats are concerned, voting Republican is just one more pathology that afflicts the toothless hillbillies of their generation. They are perplexed, or at least pretend to be perplexed, by the fact there are poor and struggling Americans who do not instinctively turn to welfare statism as the answer to their problems, who are uneager to sacrifice their values or their liberties in exchange for a government check. Democrats can't figure out how people actually think that way. That's how clueless they are. Democrats have responded to this by elevating the needs of the relatively well-off to the top of their agenda, which is why they spend so much time talking about the terrible burden of student loans for young lawyers and underemployed Haverford graduates. You won't hear them offer anything like a serious solution to the public education crisis in LA or Milwaukee. Those well-paid teachers are a core part of the Democrat base. And semi-illiterate high school dropouts do not vote in large numbers. Boy, I'll tell you, this guy's getting right to the point. It is likely that Senator Manchin will either become a Republican or replaced by one eventually. He's only 74 years of age. He's a spring chicken compared to Pelosi, Biden. I love this. Nancy Pelosi's 81. Her hair is 46. And Feinstein is between spitting distance to 90. But he isn't going to be in the Senate forever because the state gives equal representation to less populous rural states, and the densely populated urban states is always going to be a problem for Democrats. Strangely, Democrats seem at the moment intent on making it a bigger problem for themselves, further shrinking the universe of possible electoral coalitions may pass for smart in the great echoing expanse of insipidity between Bette Midler's droopy old ears, but this is a losing strategy. Somewhere Mitch O'Connell is crackling a blood-curdling smile. Now, what I wanted to talk about really, because the Senate gives equal representation to less popular rural areas, is always going to be a problem for the Democrats. That, folks, is the genius and the beauty of our Constitution. The Founding Fathers. Now, at the time they put the Constitution together, Virginia was by far the richest state and the most powerful state. But it didn't matter. It switched over time. The Senate and the Electoral College are there for a lot of the same reasons. We are not a democracy. We are a republic. Democracies are incredibly dangerous. A pure democracy got us Jim Crow in the South, got us slavery in the southern states. Majority rules gets Jews to wear Stars of David on their coats. Majority rules gets us Jim Crow, separate but very unequal. And this went on for decades and decades and decades and decades. Majority rules made laws that barred interracial marriages. You could go to jail. And it wasn't that long ago. It was in my lifetime, and I was born in 1956. The brilliance of the Constitution. Because it's easy. It's easy to go right straight down to hell. And it's a long ways down. It's better to have stagnation and gridlock than to go too far one way. And that is the brilliance of the Constitution. But here's the issue. Is the Constitution going to hold? Is it going to hold? That's a good question. Right now, it is under attack like I've never seen it in my lifetime. The biggest attack on the Constitution, of course, was the Civil War in the 1860s. Are we going to have a war like that now? Well, no, I doubt it. It's just not practical in today's society. Well, people talk about a happy divorce or amicable divorce or a bitter divorce or separation or on and on. I don't know. Maybe it'd be simply things like Eastern Oregon seceding from Oregon and joining Idaho. Even though the odds are way against them, maybe that's the way. But it will make red states redder and blue states bluer. I don't know what the answer is. But I know one of the things that will save us from ourselves, and save the Democrats even, and save the American people from the Democrats, is the Constitution of the United States. One of the most brilliant documents ever written in the history of the world. And right now, it is under attack like never before. Will the Constitution hold? The Constitution that says each state gets 2 senators to stop a runaway government from doing the wrong thing. The Constitution gave men like Senator Joe Manchin more power, at least temporarily, than he should have. But it was put that way on purpose to stop it going down the hill, down the hole, straight down. Any moron can tear things down. Any moron can. It's really hard to bring up the country 1, 2, 3, 4, 5%. But it's easy to tear it down. And they want to rip down the entire system to ashes. The Supreme Court, the Electoral College, everything. Maybe even the Senate of the United States, as one time was called the most deliberative body in the world. We're going to have to see. Will the Constitution hold? Will the founders' vision hold? It's on the edge of a cliff. We're going to have to see. We have 1 more year to hang on. Are the Republicans that take over the House at least going to be the savior? Probably not. But what they will be able to do is be a firewall to stop the fire that's burning in the Democrat Party, wanting to burn the building down. The firewall keeps the fire in a certain area, so it's easy to put out. We're going to have to see. We've got a year to hold our breath. And remember, all politics is local. So you folks out there that don't like what's happening in the country, at the local level, city councils, mayors, county execs, your state assemblies, don't vote for Democrats anymore. Let them go. Let them crash and burn. Will the Republicans do any better? Maybe, maybe not. But I know one thing they will not do. They will not burn the system down to the ground. The founding fathers are looking down on us now, wondering what choice we're going to make. I pray to God it's the right one. Until next time, goodbye and good luck.